We'll get rolling. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans, where we meet every Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. Carol Ray is our co-host. Carol, thank you for being here. Founder of NotaryToPro.com, the trailblazer in notary training. I'm glad you made it. How are you?
Thank you.
How's it going today?
I'm glad to be here. It's good. I don't have anything exciting.
Nothing exciting today?
Listen, every day is something different, right? You see, you never know what's going to happen. I have highs, I have lows. I get involved in my students' lives, so I never know whether I'm going to be like super, super happy or kind of sad.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up.
Like my husband said, you know, we're above the grass.
Something to be grateful for, right? There's always something. Well, so for me, again, I have a lot to be excited about too. It's real easy for me to get excited about stuff, but I'm real pumped up and I'm honored to be speaking at the Notary Symposium this coming Saturday in Irvine, California, and I get to share some of the new stuff that I'm working on and helping notaries be the best in this business at what they can be and staying top of mind. So I'm really getting pumped up for that. And I know Laura's super excited about that as well. Laura, are you on yet? Carol, if you don't mind, I'm going to call her real quick because we were going to start.
Would you like me to?
No, that's okay. I'll jump in there real quick.
All right.
She's having some internet difficulties, but she should be on right now. I just got a question from Robin regarding, actually somebody saying my volume's low. Are you guys experiencing that? I think that might be on the local end.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Do I ever go to Florida? Yes, I was in Florida for an entire week. I started in Fort Lauderdale and drove all the way up to Jacksonville, stopping along the way. So I will be back in Florida. Hold on, we got some background noise. Sorry, guys. Get this taken care of. I will be in Florida again in September. I'll be starting in Orlando and probably ending on the south side this time. So I'll get the details out for that as well. But I promised that I would be on the East Coast in 2020. So I'm going to do lots of East Coast pop-ins and meetups and things like that. So I'll send out a schedule as it comes up. All right. Laura, are you here? Okay. We're going to give her a little bit of time. She has an awesome presentation, but in lieu of that, let's jump in and answer some questions. Shall we, Carol?
Sure.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
Oh, she's here. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Laura, I didn't realize I was muted.
Oh,
you can hear me.
I hear that a lot. No problem, Laura. Thank you so much for being here. I know you've got a lot to be excited about. So if you don't mind, tell us what you're excited about this week.
This Saturday is Symposium. All of you who happen to be on the call today who are joining us, Bill's going to be there. We have so much planned for you. I am so excited. Can't wait not only for you to hear that, but for me to meet some of you in person, because I've only been able to meet you virtually. So that is like number one on my list this week. And I'll be driving down Friday to Irvine, and I just can't wait.
Awesome. That was what I was excited about too, is being able and honored to speak at that. So thank you. And I know you've got a 10-minute presentation basically, and I love the topic, and I'm going to just turn it over to you. So let's jump in.
Ooh, fabulous. All right. So let me share my screen. Okay, that's not me.
It's me, sorry.
All right. And then go away, this other thing. Accept it, go away. Thank you. Share. All right, let's see if it's going. Anybody ever be in safe mode? I don't mean the computer safe mode. I mean your internet safe mode. It means it's slow.
Oh, gotcha.
Because I'm in the last 2 days of my cycle, and I used up all my data.
Oh my god!
And I have a big plan, but well, that's what happens when you go to Monterey. Come on, open up. I used my phone for everything. Well, how come it's not opening the rest of the way?
And we're
There it
looking.
is.
We're looking at a web browser right now. We're not.
I know you are. So
Okay.
I want to open. Oh, let's try that. And then
Hey, Judy
slideshow.
Coultry, I'm going to be in Nashville in November. Let's definitely, if you're in the area, let's meet up.
Oh, I'm jealous.
I'm going out for the reverse mortgage annual conference thing.
All right. Does everybody see a screen that says how to compete and win?
Yes.
Okay, then it looks like it's working. Perfect. So here's what happened. I follow a lot of different people, and sometimes nobody in particular, but I do get TED Talks on particular topics pushed to me that I've asked for. And one of them is business topics. This was Alex Smith. And Alex Smith was an interesting presentation about competition and how to compete. And I thought, oh my God, another one on competition and how to best compete and win. But I thought I'm going to listen to it anyways. And I was so excited as he moved through his presentation. And it was so powerful for me that I really wanted to share it with you. So I watched it the first time. I watched it a second time and made some notes so that I could pass on some of this to you as well. And, you know, he started out with saying, look, humans love competition. It's how we are. Look, we've got the ugliest dog contest. We've got crying baby contest in Japan. You know, we apply competition even where it doesn't belong because it's just so much a part of us. And competition is really lionized. It's, you know, essential to business. And we measure our performance against competition. That just seems to be how it works. But I have some new thinking for you. It's called love your competition. Very counterintuitive to what you might be thinking. So this is where you disengage and step back from competition, and you allow for your weaknesses to be their strengths. And you allow them to do what they do. And you start looking at what you do and you make a very purposeful strategy around not competing with other people who do what you do. Competition sucks. I hate competition myself. Thinking, you know, when you see some of these programs on TV and everybody does a great job, but for some reason somebody's going to be eliminated. And I feel bad because I'm thinking, well, shouldn't everybody who wins, who does the great job, we should only eliminate those who aren't doing the job. But in life, it doesn't work that way sometimes. So we need to look at how that impacts business. And what happens is when we compete with each other, we create a clustering of our businesses. And now there's no differentiation. We're just a commodity. And the only real choice for the consumer is price. And then when you become a price sensitive industry, it just gets cheaper and cheaper and the price keeps going down because there isn't another way for the consumer to see the difference. So they're thinking, okay, why should I pay more if it's the same thing? So I just want to give one example that Mr. Smith gave, and that was Nokia. And think about the cell phone market. Nokia was very popular. Now this is back before, you know, in 2000, back when the phones came out. There was no iPhone then. They had a very popular cell phone. It was the model 3310, practically indestructible, affordable, easy to use. Everybody had it. Fantastic. Along comes Apple with their iPhone. They're the opposite. They're beautiful and sleek and designer. They're fragile. They're for the elite. They're expensive. right? And so they start selling these phones, and Nokia is looking at that saying, hey, we're losing our market. And instead of, allowing Apple to do what they're doing, they said, we're going to take some of that back. So we're going to make basically a knockoff iPhone, which was a crap iPhone, and it did not sell well. It did not function well. It was not what their primary business was. And so what happened to Nokia, which was like the king? They are not the king anymore, right? Where are they? So what they didn't do but could have done was allow for Apple to be their counterpoint. To, if they're fragile, we're indestructible. That's our selling point. If they're expensive, we're affordable. If they're only for the elite, we're everybody's phone, right? So if they could have seen how that was complementary to each other, they probably could have survived. So what happens when I refuse to compete? Well, the opposite of clustering. What happens is it's declustering. So there are different options for the public. Price is not the only consideration, and the focus is on the value to the customer, right? What are the kinds of ways we add value? And each of us may have a different way or ways in which we do that. So here's the idea. People are thinking, well, if I do that and I let somebody else have some of my business, what's that mean for me? I want you to think of the market as like a pie, big pie. And you can either fight over the big pie, or you can own your little pocket, your slice of the pie, and you can own it. So when you look at iPhones, did you realize they're only 15% of the total market share of phones being sold? But they're almost 80% profit share. So when you look at it, it's like, do I want to take my time, my resources, and try to get all the business and do everything? Or do I want to do what I do well and then be the most profitable at that? And I think that's kind of eye-opening, because it isn't about how many customers do I have. It's about what's the value I produce. And it's about how do I make sure that I focus all my energy just on that. So what the piece is that I have is a good piece, a profitable piece. So the argument is really, you need to focus on quality, value, and experience. The money then will take care of itself. And so that's the other concern is, well, what about the money? The money follows. The money is a result or consequence of the quality and the value and the experience you provide. If you focus on those things, the money comes with it. So what are my recommendations? Well, stop trying to be better than other companies. And here's another one, Southwest. The airline industry was going bankrupt. They just couldn't keep business going well. Here comes Southwest, and they're saying, you know what? We're the opposite. We're low cost, no frills. All we are is we'll get you here to there. No great seats, no great food, no great anything, but we'll get you there. And so that was a really different thought, and they started taking over a lot of business doing that. Businesses are like an ecosystem. Each has its complementary role. And you can create an explosion of value if you look at what you're doing. So when I look at my own business, I don't compare what I'm doing or services I'm offering to what everybody else is doing. And I've never thought about it as clearly as I do now in the last 2 years, as I've moved into this idea of collaboration rather than competing. And that as I moved, when I became a notary and there weren't a lot of NSAs, it was a big deal. And I had more work than I could handle. If I could fog a mirror, I got the job. As other people jumped on and I said, well, what else can I be doing? And I started providing value by providing service in some other areas that people were not being served. Again, I was kind of out there in the forefront, kind of doing it. And then others started to follow. So I see my own business as I don't look to see what everybody else is already doing. I look to see what's a natural step for my own business. Where can I serve who's not being served? I loved, this is probably the most powerful part for me, was survival of the fittest. And it's what people think, but it's not what people think. This survival of the fittest, a lot of people think this is a hyper competitive, dog eat dog, the strongest, the fastest. They're the only ones that are going to survive, right? But actually the definition is that it's that which best fits the system around it. The fittest is the one that fits in and can adapt to the system. And think of your business as a piece in a fluid jigsaw puzzle. And as the puzzle changes, you adapt and change with it. Collaboration is what allows that to happen and what allows everybody to win. We don't have to have winners and losers. Everybody can win if they focus on their own piece of their pie. And that was it. I hope you enjoyed that.
That was awesome. Awesome. Would you mind there you go. Perfect. What perfect timing to happen across that TED Talk. I think that's part of the serendipity of how this stuff works. I believe that we are paid in direct proportion to the value that we bring the marketplace. And when you feel that, when you believe that in your core, then you can stop worrying about competition. When I first got started, I didn't know there was competition. I was ignorant. Somebody said, "Hey, I'm going to pay you $150 an hour." I'm like, "Okay, that's what I needed," and that's what I did. And I was like, I had my blinders on, and that's what I did. So I didn't worry about competition because it just never entered my brain that they were out there. Now, if I had to do all over again, I would want to do the same thing. Because if we get too caught up in, looking at how many other signing agents there are, then that starts spinning our brains a little out of control about competition. That puts us in the wrong mindset when we need to be focused on delivering the maximum value. The only person you have to compete with is who you were yesterday. So do things better and better and better. I love that. Thank you, Laura. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Can I say something too?
Absolutely.
Because I am no longer a signing agent. I followed the same rules when I was, and I did very well. Bill and I, especially at the end, the last 7 years that we were signers, we were busy. We made really good money. But when you were talking about this, Laura, I was thinking about Notary to Pro. Now, I came out 10 years ago with Notary to Pro. There wasn't any real training. I had no competition, really. I believed in what I was doing. I wanted to give people the most value and grow that business to encompass not just a training, a place for them to learn how to do signings. And so over the years, I was always adding things and adding more resources. We came up with the graduates website where we've got all these free resources for our graduates. And then all of a sudden, and Bill knows this, and we all know this, others started coming out with their training. And of course, somebody, brand new to the business, they're like, God, all over the internet. I don't know how they do it. I'm clueless, right? And there was YouTube videos, and there was ads, and there was all this stuff. And it was like, they are the best. Okay. You be the best, you do what you do, and I'll do what I do. And I just continued to add more value to what I do. I cared a lot about my students. And then Mr. Bill comes along, and he's got his videos, and he's in his car, and he's driving. I thought, oh, okay, what the heck? What is this guy? Is he another one of those? And so that was when I reached out to Bill. We spoke, 3 times, I think. And I knew you were real. I knew you were a good guy. And I knew that you could take my students and a lot of other people further than what I wanted to do. I wanted to give them the foundation. I wanted to get them where they were comfortable with what they did and know what they did. But they needed people like Laura and like you. And look what we've done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really proud of what the 3 of us have done, and it's collaboration. But I always did feel that those people are not my competition. I can't keep up with that, the way they get out there and advertise and everything. And I'm very proud of what we have accomplished in 10 years. So I can liken that to the signing agents thing. It's exactly what you said. So that's very true.
I love that. And, to tie into the ecosystem, because this is going to tie into all of you, there's always going to be somebody who's doing things different. I made my mark because I would do signings at 4, 5, 6 in the morning. Not everybody wants to do that, but me promoting it, me getting out there, getting on the road, doing this sparks conversation around our industry. And to tie into the training, there's 4 or 5, maybe 50 different training programs out there. They're all advertising, but every bit of conversation that gets sparked about your industry, your business, your service can somehow benefit you. So we don't have to look at people who are out hustling as competition or negative. They're doing us a favor. Maybe they're pumping money into advertising. That's going to help us too. They can't take all the business. That just doesn't exist. It's not real. It's going to be trickled down, and then you get a chance to shine. So that's all you got to do sometimes is show up and shine. I love it. Thank you again, Laura. That was phenomenal. I love the timing on it. We got lots of great questions. Shall we jump in?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Let's see. There it is.
It's a good thing I was muted. God.
All right, here we go. Lana says, I would like to know more about the signing test. She's talking about the signing agent exam from the National Notary Association. What happens if I do not pass the test the first time? Is there a fee to retake the test? Is the exam online, or do I have to schedule to take it at a location? I never hear you talk detail about the exam. Laura, I feel like we talk about it a lot, but I'm going to get past this one over to you.
All right. So I'm assuming you're talking about the NNA exam. It is online. It happens immediately following taking the course. And if you don't pass the first time, you may immediately or at a later time of your choosing retake it, and you may retake it more than once. There is not a fee to retake the exam. Did I get them all?
I think you nailed it.
There you go.
All right, perfect.
Now let me ask you a question. Is this the same exam that is given when they go to get their background screening and they get the exam for $65? Because
Yes.
This is what I've been encouraging my graduates to do. And that exam has almost nothing to do with notary work. It's about the SPW code of conduct and the rules regarding that code of conduct. So is there a different test after they've taken the course?
I believe she's asking me about the exam. That's the $65 exam that goes with the background screen that we do once a year.
Yep. That's it. Same exam.
No other test that I'm aware of.
Yep. Perfect. There we go. Don says, has anyone had luck with promoting their notary page for general notary work on Facebook? Laura, this is right up your alley, but I'll jump in and just share my perspective on this as well. And I'd love to hear yours too. So for me, general notary work on any type of social media really came when I started sharing the journey. If I posted advertisements, I got like zero, like nothing, like crickets. But when I started sharing the journey on my business page, like if I was traveling out to Buckeye or Casa Grande, I'm crazy, I'll go anywhere. But, if it was checking in at Starbucks, if I met an interesting customer or they had a good story or their pets, I started posting pictures of their pets with their permission, of course. That's when I started to get traction. And that's also when I started just making a service-based post about how I offer free notary services to friends and family. Then that kind of shifted because I wasn't advertising for money. I wasn't trying to get something. I was just being of service to people. So what started happening is I started getting tagged in social media posts. Like, people jump on Facebook, anybody know a notary? And suddenly I'm tagged 16 times from 16 different people in one post. So that's when I started to gain some traction there. But it was not from advertising, or like what I say a lot is you're standing up with a bullhorn talking about you and your services. I'm sharing the journey. Laura, what's your experience in this?
So I don't advertise or post ads at all. I haven't had to. And I agree with you, Bill, that sharing the journey has been more helpful. And although I have a personal Facebook page, but half of them are notary friends on there. And so I do post information. I post when I think something's interesting or different, an interesting assignment. I talk about just at my everyday life, what's going on. You'll see pictures of my pets, all kinds of things. And I think it just makes you very human and makes you very approachable. And I think that is how I end up being found, more often. I've just never paid money for advertising my own business on social media.
Love that. And so I love that you said that. It makes them human, because people want to work with who they know, like, and trust. And if you always have that in mind, it just helps pull that wall down that sometimes we put up, that we got to be this business person, and then we can be fun and have be friendly outside of business. But people want to see that blended. They always want professionalism, but they also want to know that you're a person back there, and that you can laugh, and that you can cry, and that you're more than just a robot or a machine that's signing, dating, and stamping documents. So anytime you can share that comfortably, and authentically, you don't want to force it. And I think that's real important on social media, is if you're not used to it, ease yourself into it. Don't just start oversharing. Don't undershare. Don't post and, don't do the baiting type posts and stuff. Just grow into it till you're comfortable, and then share your authentic self. Melanie says, I'm brand new and I'm having so much trouble with finding a name for my business. I don't want something too cheesy, but a lot of people use their name or initials and just tack on mobile notary. Is that the way to go? Or what are some good tips for coming up with a business name? Carol, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I know Barbara helps people. She builds the websites for a lot of our graduates, and she helps, and she really comes up with some clever things. I think that using your name is okay, but I like to see really good names that kind of catch your eye. Ask friends, ask family. People come up with great ideas.
They do. Laura, how about you? Any input on that?
Yeah, when I created mine, I wanted it to communicate what I was about. And so at your service was to communicate, I'm going to come when it's good for you, where and when you need it. And mobile notary was, look, I'm coming to your location and I perform notarizations. So they got it all. They know I'm a notary, they know I'm mobile, and they know that I probably come when they need me, whether or not that's during business hours. And that's what I wanted to communicate in my business. Those were the values I wanted to communicate. And I think I was fortunate that I came, up with that. And I have seen other business use at your service in the front of theirs as well, although I never noticed it until I did it myself. And I will tell you that when I ask questions about how you found me or why did you choose me, I've had several say, well, the name of your business said you were at my service, and it sounded like that's who I'd want to come and take care of me. So it really has worked well for me.
Love it.
Notary to Pro was designed by me because of the fact that I wanted notaries to know I could take them from just a notary to a professional.
Yeah, I think that was a really creative name on that too. I think it's very clear what's offered there. Love it. Valerie says, I heard it's a good idea to get a mobile printer and mobile scanner to help get my feet in the door as a brand new notary. What's a good mobile notary and scanner? So Carol, I'm going to pass this to you. What do you think on this one? Is that
well, my daughter just bought one, and I'll just say one thing, that we have a company that hires just our graduates, and he insists that anybody that works for him must have a mobile printer and scanner because of the way they're in Phoenix, as a matter of fact. And if you know Arizona, you know that you could have long stretches in between signings, and they call you at the last minute. You need to be prepared. And this is a new concept for me because I've talked about it before, that we carried a printer around with us, go to a hot spot, and I'd be out there at 118 degrees in the back seat of the car printing documents. But if you get the right equipment, you take them to the signing, and you will literally sit there at the table and get the documents and print them out while you're sitting at the table. I don't know what brand she has, but I would say go to Amazon. They've got a number of them that are very reasonable, and just check out, the recommendations from people, and get something that's small and light and has a little carrying case so you can carry it around with you.
There is an interview on my YouTube channel as well with Vernice, and she set up her whole auto office, and she shares exactly how she did it and the reason that she had to choose the printer that she did, because there's a voltage issue and there's conversion issue and all of that stuff. So if you'd like to check that out, just go to the YouTube channel and just type in Vernice in the search engine and it'll pop up for you. But that is a great way to get some data on that one. And for me personally, I did try the printer in the car thing, but I got so frustrated. I am in Phoenix. It was hot. Things never seem to work. It's dusty. So I got frustrated with it and just said, forget it. I'm not going to do that. But I can totally see where there's a huge benefit. And the people who are doing it swear by it. They get more jobs. It gives them peace of mind. And peace of mind is hard to put a dollar figure on, and it's worth it. Vernice is the name of the YouTube. So go to youtube.com/notary coach. And then on my channel search, type in Vernice and that'll pop up for you. John says, could you discuss the reputable signing services for mobile notaries? Who are they and how much business can one expect? For me personally, any that are good for Arizona taskings would be great. I know this is right here in my home state, but Laura, I wondered if you could.
Well, the first part of his question about reputable signing services, of course, when I started, I had to create my own list for myself. Fortunately, some other people are doing that. Besides me, of course, Notary Rotary created a list. It's old. It's not as well maintained, so I don't really use that. But Carrie Rivera has a great list that is edited, it's updated, and I highly recommend it to anybody I coach who's trying to do NSA work, is to go over to Notary Reviews. Is that her website, notaryreviews.com?
Yes. .org, yeah.
And apply, and it's a nominal fee. And let me tell you, you'll get your money back right away, because you're going to know who isn't somebody you want to work with because they're scored a 1, and who are 5-star types of vendors. And this is based on our own peers that are saying what it's like to work with them. So that would be my biggest recommendation. And the other recommendation I have, that's proactive, is that when you work with them, not only would it be a good idea to add to that database to say, hey, here's my experience, but create your own little database with your own experience. I created an Excel spreadsheet list, because at one time I had 40, 50 different clients I was working for. And I put in, what were their requirements? What did I have to chase down money? What's the average amount of time it took to get paid? Did they meet or exceed my fee? There was like 4 or 5 things that I rated them on for myself. And then when I found that they weren't meeting those areas, I fired them. I didn't work for them anymore. And my list after time shrunk, and it got down to maybe 15, 18 vendors that those are the people I work for. And that's it. And a brand new one, I won't take a new job from a new vendor unless I research them. So I might say, you know what? I'd be happy to take this job. I am going to check you out, right? So that they know. I think they need to know that we are not ignorant of who they are and what they are. So I'm glad you asked the question. I think there's a great resource out there, but I think you need to take also responsibility as you do the work to track it for yourself.
Absolutely. I love that, the personal responsibility piece, Because a lot of this is personalities too, or styles or situations. You know, one person who gets frustrated that it takes them 90 days to pay because they're on a net 90 or a net 30, net 45, whatever it is. One other person might be okay with that because they're in a situation that allows for that. So you've got to kind of get in and tinker with it and play around with it and figure it out. The beautiful thing is, even though we recommend that you apply for a bunch of companies at first, you will whittle your list down, just like Laura said. When I was peaking out, making the more money than I've ever made in my life, and I was just a lone signing agent, I only worked with 2 signing companies, and I only had 2 escrow officer clients. And that was okay. And then you can grow and you can expand or shrink or whatever it is that you need to do based on your own experience. The other thing is too, and I know Carol would agree with this, is your training course that you sign up with. Based on their relationships, you might have access to a list that way as well. What I found is that even with these resources, whether you're in the training course that has them, or if you have Carrie's list, there's some resistance to actually following the system, and namely because it becomes tedious to apply for all these companies, or you think there's going to be a different way to do things. And there might very well be, but if you, before you reinvent the wheel, tap into the system, start making some money and building some relationships to take the pressure off. And then you can start finding your own way as well. And you might find something that's bigger and better, or works for you better. But this system works if you tap in and you take advantage of the relationships that your trainers have, or people like Carrie, who have developed this entire community that gives you a resource of the signing companies rated by other signing agents. Tap into that. Do the work up front and get yourself moving. Get that momentum that you need.
Bill, I'd just like to add that, I know that Notary to Pro offers also a list of people to work with that they have vetted, that they have worked with to get their people started. So depending on how you're coming in, there are lots of places to go to get that information to just get you started.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to really bring that up, because I think that's going to tie into one of the questions that are coming up here. So I'll let Carol jump in on that one too. Yeah, this is it. My question and biggest issue is finding clients with consistent work every month. I'm a graduate of N2P and I have the NNA certification. I just can't seem to find the clients that have work monthly. Any suggestions would be great. Carol, can you help out with Doug here?
Well, one of the things that everybody needs to understand, that this business is cyclical. It's cyclical for the signing services. The only way I can describe it, and I know this is true, that the lenders work areas, right? And of course, the lenders are where the work is. So if you're living in an area that all of a sudden gets really, really busy, that means you've got a lender that's out there sending out postcards, making phone calls, and they're doing a lot of work. And once it's almost like the locusts. They come in and they do their thing and then they're gone. And that's exactly the way it works. You get a lender that comes in, works the area. It might be Bank of America, it might be Chase, whoever it is. And they work it, and there's a lot of work, and it's coming through maybe just a couple of signing services or title companies. And then all of a sudden they disappear. They've gone to someplace else. They've saturated that area, and there is no more loans to be made there, and they move on to someplace else. It's very important that you establish relationships with you were lucky, Bill, when you said you had just 4 clients, 2 in escrow and 2 signing services. But for most people, you need to really get a hold of as many companies as you can, try to build a rapport with them, because when one is moving on, you've got another one coming in, and they're working with different clients and signing services and title companies. So if you can develop, and just like our list, I can't tell you how frustrating it is. We get a phone call from a graduate and they'll say, I haven't had any signings, not even one. And I graduated a month ago, and my daughter and I look at each other and we're like, we do everything we can to, instill what you have to do to get busy and successful. And if they don't do it and they think that it's just going to come to them, you're wrong. So you need to, when anybody gives you that advantage, a list or something, you need to really work that list. And that is your work to start with. You spread it out enough, you're going to stay busy.
Yep, I love that. So, and that really speaks to the previous question too. And I think between the three of us, we probably talk to thousands of people every month on mentor and coaching calls. And the consistent messages from people who are not getting the results that they want is they have not tapped into the system. They, again, for whatever reason, don't sign up for as many signing companies as they should. They're not doing the follow-up phone calls. You're not doing the things that you know you should be doing. That's really what it comes down to. So when you get on the phone with Laura, or Carol, or me, we're going to coach you into doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. That's number one key, is utilize your resources and follow the system first. Now, there's still going to be challenges. You're going to still hit walls. And that's where coaching can really be valuable, because we can help get you through those real barriers, not the barriers of just doing the basics, but doing the real barriers where you're in an area where you're not getting the types of calls, or you have to work a little harder to build those relationships. That's where a good coach can really make a big difference. And that's what we're here for.
And one of the things that's so important is that you really do a great job every time. And I can't emphasize this enough. We're all human. We all make mistakes. I made plenty of them. Notary to a Pro is built on my mistakes. And I was a basket case. But the one thing that I learned over the years is that if you make a mistake, don't freak out. Just get out there and fix it. Whatever you have to do. No delays. You let them know, I'm so sorry I did this. I will go back right now. I will get those initials. I will do what I have to do. And my daughter's back at this. And I mentioned this, my daughter, Lori, she did it for several years in the Phoenix area. And now we're here in Northern California, and she's just starting up her business. And I'm so proud of her, because she's already starting in just less than a month. She's building up relationships with companies that are keeping her busy. And she did make a mistake, and she did feel that terrible pressure. And she did get out there, and she drove an hour to go fix some tiny little thing. But all that does is let those companies know they can count on you. And it's not the mistake you make ever. It's how graciously you accept the responsibility and how quickly you get out there and you fix it.
Love it. That's huge. Drop everything and fix it. That's my policy too.
Yeah,
I love it.
My motto for that, Bill, is make it right away.
Love it.
Very good.
Love it. Hey, Laura, I got a question. Ronnie's asking in the chat window. What's a nice way to say you are not available when getting a general notary work call if you're not available when someone needs you? What would you suggest in these situations?
Gosh, Bill, you probably know what I'm going to say.
I do.
I'm going to say, I have a colleague who could take care of you. I rarely have to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Either one, I'm happy to. If I'm booked, I can say, I'm not available until this time, but if you need it sooner than that, I'm happy to get a colleague to come take care of you. Now, I give them an option, and they may say, well, I could wait till that time. That's okay. And if they say, no, I'm at the hospital now, I really need somebody to come now, great. Tell me what hospital you're at, let me get a notary for you. So I really look for alternatives for them when I can't do it. Does it ever come when they've asked for something that I don't have a colleague in that area? Yeah, it could. And then I would apologize. I'm not available. Here is when I'm available. And I could give a suggestion. You might want to check this or that to find a notary closer to you. But I always try to hook them up with somebody else if I can't do it.
Yeah, that being a resource to people really pays off. And again, and that moves from being transactional, where you're just thinking, oh, this is just a one-time call, why bother being of assistance, and really laying the foundation for an awesome relationship, because you never know who's on the other line or sitting across the table from you. So take the time to be a resource and build that relationship. If you can't help, which is awesome, it's awesome about general notary work, is you control the time.
Yeah.
unless the customer has a big demand, like Laura was saying. But they can be really flexible. You can be really flexible. There's
Yes.
no signing companies. There's no escrow officer. There's no close of escrow. Sometimes there's some urgency for medical stuff or people leaving town, having letters signed and things like that. But you've got a little more control on it. What I encourage you to do is take the time to have a conversation. We tend to freeze up on the phone. So we're like, oh, and you're afraid to ask questions. Ask probing questions, figure out what the situation is, and then ask them how flexible they can be and see if you can find a way to make it work. And if you can't, refer it out. And then there's one other question here that John's asking is, how much time do you, Bill, schedule in between signings? So it really depends on the type of signing. Ideally, it'll be about 3 hours. That gives me plenty of time to do a signing and to drive and maybe even drop off documents. But when I'm in full hustle mode at the end of the month, it might be 2 hours in between signings. But you got to use caution doing that, because sometimes that can backfire for you when clients want to read documents or when things don't go right. So I like to do the 3 hour rule. Laura, Carol, any other suggestions that you guys have on that?
When it's a loan signing and it's in my area, there's a lot of factors I think of. First is, how close is it from the signing I'm leaving? Is it a time of day that's heavy traffic? Do I have to go back to my office because the documents weren't ready? So all of those play into how much time, but I would probably never give less than an hour between loan signings for my locale, because I just don't want to be rushed. I never know what's going to come up. For general work, I can have a smaller window because I'm just popping in to different places. They tend to be quick, and I can have a smaller window in between.
Love that. Carol, anything to add on that? Do you have a guideline?
No, we used to allow 2 hours usually. We felt that was comfortable, that was safe. I didn't want to ever cheat anybody by rushing in and rushing out. If they needed extra time, we wanted to give it to them. The only thing about that is the end of the month. That's a whole different ball of wax. And that one, we did as many as 10 in a day.
Yeah.
Started at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, finished up at almost midnight. Go have a great late dinner and then stay up all night packaging documents. I love the end of the month. You easily make, $1,000, $1,400 in a day.
Oh, and in one day. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's funny, we were just talking about this on office hours for Sign and Thrive this morning, is you will make, as a loan signing agent, sometimes 80% of your income at the last week of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to have a hustle mode, the last week of the month, last 5 days especially, but these days it seems like it's the last 15 days of the month, you will work your tail off, but it will pay off. And then, like for me, I used to take the first week of every month off. I'd travel, just relax, whatever it is, and then bust my hump the rest of the month.
Yeah. I had a student call me after this last week, and she had been laid off from her job, and she got her certification and everything. And she got so busy at the last of the month, she said she made more money than what she had been making on her job before they let her go. And she was crying on the phone, and I'm like, thank you. It was so great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I love those stories. All right, Sarah says, as a brand new notary, I want to primarily focus on general notary work for at least a few months before venturing out into escrow direct work. My question is basically for my first notary appointment, and it's very basic and slightly awkward. Basically, I'm just curious as to what conversation is typically like when initially meeting your appointment. And how long does an appointment that is not a loan signing generally take? Laura, I think this is right up your alley. What do you think?
Oh, gosh, it is. Okay, so a couple different questions here. One is, I take a minute or two to just introduce myself and let them introduce themselves. A lot of times they want to tell me their story. I don't even need to ask. They're ready to, spill their guts. And I let that happen. I think it's important for them to just start to get comfortable with me in the room with them as I'm starting to assess who's my signer. a lot of times I may not even be talking to the signer till I get there. So I need to know who's my signer, what condition is that person in, what's the document that they need, what's the involvement of everybody that's in the room, unless it's only the signer. So it takes a few minutes just to kind of get used to each other first. And it can even be, oh, what a great day. Are you having a great day today? Oh, isn't it beautiful outside? I've been in my car all day. Oh, really? Can I get you a bottle of water? I mean, just there's some natural, organic flow to that conversation. I don't just pull out my book and say, give me your ID. So I think you need warm up. And the warm up isn't technical. It's just like you would with anybody else in your family or friends. The other thing is, how long does it take? I have ones yesterday. I did 5 or 6 of them. And most of them were about 10, 15 minutes. That's about all it takes. A few minutes to warm up. I do my process with the journal. I check over their document. I fill out my certificate. And I wind it up. And I'm ready to move on to the next one. Other ones, they have a lot. I went to one that I thought they had a trust document, not a whole trust. So I didn't plan for an hour, which is what it takes when you have an entire trust for 2 people. I said, oh, you just have the trust document. I'm thinking it's a restatement, no big deal. So I planned for about 20 minutes on that. And in fact, I was there an hour. So things can change.
Yeah. I think the best advice I can offer you for general notary work too is to read the room when you're in there and you're engaging in conversation, because I tend to be enthusiastic and I just think everything should be fun and exciting, and it's not always that way. As notaries, sure, we meet people on the best days of their lives, but we also meet them on the worst. So sometimes you're stepping into a divorce or deathbed situation or a massive illness that shocked people. So you really want to kind of be mindful of what you're walking into. And, I like to elevate a little bit, so I'm not just down in it with the clients or people in the room. And I like to rise up a little bit above their mood, whatever it might be. But you don't want to come in there cheering and how excited, hey, congratulations on your divorce, that kind of thing. So you got to be really careful with that kind of stuff. All right. So next, I've had that.
Sometimes they're worth congratulating.
I'll tell you what, one of the most fun general notary work appointments I had, she broke out champagne, and we sipped champagne after we signed and notarized the divorce
settlement.
All right. Chris says, how can we be certain of the county we are in when we're in a signing? I live close to many borders and I would like to be absolutely certain.
Oh, I got an answer.
Great. Is there some sort of county map or something similar that you're familiar with? Carol?
This is so easy. My best friend's name is Google. Just type in on Google the address. What county is
right?
The address, and it'll show you the county every time correctly. It's great.
It's pretty cool. And the other thing is, most people know what county they live in. So if you ask them, what county are we in? They usually know. That doesn't always work.
I've had people that didn't know.
Well, out here we have Santan Valley and we have Queen Creek right on, like one road is Pinell County, the other road is Maricopa County. So even sometimes the computer can be wrong on that one. You just have to do the best you can.
I ask my signer,
yep,
what county you live in? They usually know.
Usually they do. Sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't.
Especially in Arizona.
Yeah, it's weird out here. Jamar says, is it wise to have an LLC formation along with a business checking account before I actually get my notary business going? We hear this a lot. General rule of thumb is, guys, if you don't have any clients and you're not making any money, you don't have a business yet, so you don't have to stress out about it. But here's the other thing. We are not attorneys. We are not tax advisors, so we cannot give you advice on this. The best thing to do is to seek out professional advice to find out what works best for your situation. Sometimes an LLC is no big deal. Some states, it can cost a couple grand to get those things going. So you have to make the decision if it makes sense. But what you need to know about LLCs or corporations is that they serve two main functions. One is tax efficiency and the other is asset liability protection. It does not legitimize your business. A lot of new notaries, especially if you don't have a lot of business experience, they think that just having an LLC or becoming incorporated gives validation to your business, and people are going to respond to that, and you're going to get more business. Your customers don't care, and it does not serve that purpose. So don't fall into that trap. If you have assets to protect, or if you want to get some tax efficiency, that's worthy of a conversation with your business, tax, or legal professional. You guys have anything else on that? I know we get that one a lot.
Agreement.
Okay. From Claudia, what are your thoughts on the new company, Uber Notarize? Has anyone heard of it?
Yes.
Carol, what do you think?
I just printed something out. Hold on a minute. Yeah, this is something. Laura, do you know about this, the NNA?
No.
Have they teamed up with Uber?
I don't know
This is
anything
really
about
cool.
that. No.
Huh?
I don't know anything about a partnership with them.
Yeah, it says here, I heard about it and I Googled it. And it says the National Notary Association has partnered with Uber to offer mobile notaries a lucrative new income opportunity. If you sign up to drive using NNA's partner link, you will get a $50 reward from Uber after you complete your first trip. It goes on to talk about it's a world-leading rideshare service and how it works with your signing business. Because you can, I guess you use your car when you're down, you're not working, to take people around. And then when you have your, whether it be general notary work or signings, then you use this car to make money.
Well, I think they just stole a marketing idea. I mean, basically, there's lots of notaries who are doing Lyft and Uber in between their appointments, right? Or they're doing notary in between that. I mean, one way or the other, they were doing a mashup of the two. All NNA and Uber did was say, oh, well, why don't we partner together and make sure all notaries know about this? And they can put the two together more formally. And of course, whenever you get Uber or somebody else in there, somebody's getting a piece of your pie. So
yeah, that's true.
Keep doing it on your own is what I say.
Anyway, I haven't researched it other than printing this out, but I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. I did a video on this, I think 2 years ago, actually, because I've met several Uber Lyft drivers that struggled to make $100, $150 after driving for 12 hours.
Right.
So you could double your income if you just added one signing to your day. And I think that part makes sense. However, there's some downsides too, right? Like the idea of having people in my car does not appeal to me. But Uber Eats, people are doing Uber Eats now.
Right.
So they're dropping off food and then they're doing signings. So this is actually happening. Like we've got some students who are doing it. So if it works for you, great. It's just another income opportunity. Now, I don't know though if this is the same thing as Uber Notarize, because I've seen an email come through because I get tons of them. I don't know if Uber Notarize is the same thing that Carol's talking about. I can't speak to whether or not this is a legit company or not. So
well, I typed in Uber Notarize car or something like that when I was looking on Google.
So what I would recommend is do your due diligence, utilize your resources. Carrie Rivera is great at this. So if anybody in her community has started getting this feedback, they might have some ratings or some information on it to share with you.
Joanne says Uber Notarize is not the same thing. So I don't know.
Different.
Anyway, I thought it was an interesting concept and an idea from NNA.
It is. I love that.
The NNA, I just have to say, a while back had suggested as one of the many different ways you could leverage the fact that you're in your car was to partner to become an Uber driver. It wasn't that it was Uber Notarize. It was, you're already a notary, why not be an Uber driver as well? Because I checked that out. And that was over 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when I saw that. Now, this Uber Notarize, I think, is the new thing. And I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
Well, count on Carrie. If Carrie's on, we need your research abilities, Carrie. She's so good at digging in and figuring things out.
Right.
All right, guys, that brings us right up to the 9 o'clock hour. In fact, we're just past it. Thank you so much, Carol, Laura, for spending so much of your time with us today. I know everybody really appreciates it. And those who are watching, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to grow yourself and your business on the Tuesday. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.